Good afternoon. Thank you. That was a very good response. Good crowd. At the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg, we frequently begin worship service with a song of welcome. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. And so welcome to the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. My name is Edinger, and I gratefully serve as the president of the Board of Trustees here at UCH. It is my privilege to welcome you here today. Our home is your home. May you find among your friends and allies seated here with you peace, comfort, and the energy to continue working for reproductive justice.
We are privileged to have Tiffany Chang Lawson with us to offer a welcome from the Commonwealth. You're on.
Thank you so much, Jim. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so honored to be here to represent Governor Wolf and Mrs. Wolf, the First Lady. Reproductive justice is something that's incredibly important to the Governor and First Lady. They have been longtime advocates and volunteers with Planned Parenthood. And so I just wanted to thank everybody that has made the time to be here to celebrate in reproductive justice. And thank you so much for sharing this Sunday with us. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jim Cavenaugh, pleased to welcome you to this multi-faith service. We invited people of many faiths to songs and prayers for reproductive justice because we hope to demonstrate that many people of faith support the human right, as stated by Sister Song, to maintain personal bodily autonomy, have children or not have children, and parent the children we have in a safe and sustainable community. We make this space sacred by our presence. A Unitarian Universalist tradition is to light a flaming chalice at the beginning of a sacred time together and to say appropriate words like these by my colleague David Breeden. We light this chalice remembering and honoring our own tradition and celebrating the rich diversity of traditions among us. As we search for justice, meaning, and purpose, may we remember that justice, meaning, and purpose live first in deeply listening to one another. May it be so. Rabbi?
It's the brief call to prayer, right? I thought we were all over here. Just a brief call to prayer from Psalms. Shir l'Adonai shir chadash, shir l'Adonai kol haaretz, shir l'Adonai baruch hu shemo, basru meyom liyom yeshuato. Sing to the Eternal a new song. Sing to the Eternal all the earth. Sing and bless the sacred name. Bring good news day by day for sacred help.
Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. While I'm on this tedious journey, I want Jesus to walk with me.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Believers, be steadfast for the cause of God and witnesses in justice. And let not a group's hostility to you cause you to deviate from justice. Be just, for it is closer to piety. Have fear of God. God is well aware of what you do.
May the sound of this bell penetrate deeply into the universe. May it be heard by all sentient beings in every realm, near and far, high and low, as a call to compassion, loving kindness, joy, equanimity. May it ring strong and true, carrying each of our deepest wishes and prayers for freedom and peace.
Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our opening song, Spirit of Life 123 in the gray hymnal. Please be seated. We come to a responsive reading. I will read where it says 1, and I ask you to read the bold type. We gather this day to offer our prayers that women and men and their families might know the blessings of reproductive justice and especially affordable reproductive health care for all. We come together seeking reproductive justice for our world and its people, especially people of color and those in poverty. May it be so. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, shalom, shalom alaikum, hello, and good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here in this incredible company and part of this uplifting and inspiring service. I'm a proud American Muslim, an immigrant, a woman of color, a daughter, a sister, wife, and a mom. I'm a neighbor and a friend who's passionate about bringing people together in social justice. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So then why do we turn a blind eye when injustice is being done to women, to people of color, to Muslims, to immigrants, to LGBTQ community? Why are we invisible in front of the privileged? Why our voices are shut down by the wealthy? Why are we not validated and celebrated by the society? For too long, we have been criticized, criminalized, seen as objects and someone else's property. But we are independent, compassionate, intelligent, and beautiful human beings, and we are worth it. It's time to change the narrative and empower women, girls, and people of color. It's time that we recognize healthcare as a basic human right and not a privilege. So women, like a 30-year-old immigrant, stop being victims of structural power inequalities. So she's not denied to have a child because of polycystic ovarian syndrome. She cannot get treatment because it's not covered by the provider, and no, they do not have the luxury to afford without the coverage right now, and she's not the only one. It's time to provide education and resources to women and people of color in all the marginalized communities so they can make best decisions for themselves by themselves. It's time to take our seat back at the table. It's time to reclaim our voices, bodies, and future. Thank you.
Please remain seated and join me in singing in the Teal hymnal, number 1002, Comfort Me. We gather this day because too many laws in our country restrict the ability of women and men and families, especially those struggling with poverty, to enjoy reproductive justice for all. We come together seeking reproductive justice for our nation and its people, especially those experiencing oppression.
My story, my prayer. When will women who look like me and live in neighborhoods like I live in stop being punished because of the color of our skin? Food deserts in my neighborhood, but plenty of corner stores with expired canned goods and lack of fresh produce. Incarcerated pregnant women with poor medical care and poor diets, forced into miscarriages and abortions. Discriminatory foster care and children and youth enforcement, making it impossible for children to see that this system cares for their well-being. Fashion shows, magazine covers, commercials that in 2018 still do not represent women like me, all because of the color of our skin. As a matter of fact, maybe we should not focus on the color of our skin. Maybe people should stop saying, I'm a person of color. Color is a socially constructed stereotype that continues to perpetuate reproductive oppression based on the melanin of my skin. I am a woman and I am human. My sisters are African, Caribbean, British, Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Indian. That is where they were born, but they also have an identity that they are human.
Amen.
Yes, God created humanity in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, not an afterthought.
Amen.
But a thought in the forefront of his mind. He created them. Let us therefore be human and honor humanity with dignity, with justice, and with equality. This I pray. God Almighty, we thank you for the privilege to talk to you, to hear from you and to receive from you all that we need to prosper on this earth. I am grateful for how you created women, and thank you that our lives have purpose. Let those around me in houses of faith, those in the legislative halls, those in the courtrooms, and those in the boardrooms, those in the classrooms, and those in our communities, honor your creation, women. Honor and respect that is due to us. Let it come. God, you saw and all that you had made and declared that it was very good. May mankind see us likewise also.
Amen. This is the free will offering, and on this, tomorrow will be the 45th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. And we invite you, if you're able to make your offering in some number related to 45. But it's free will. So whatever you find appropriate and affordable.
Blessed are those who bring the world together. Blessed are those who take colored threads and weave them into a finely patterned tapestry or a randomly fashioned one. Blessed are those who take tones and notes and arrange cacophonous harmonies hardly imagined before they are heard. Blessed are those who take the expressions of their heritage and make them part of the experience of the whole community. Blessed are those who make of their lives a prayer that peace will come from sharing who we are. Such richness is a gift of courage and of strength and of vision. It is what will make the future possible. Blessed are those who bring the world together.
Amen. Thank you.
Don't leave me alone, Lord. Don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone, Lord. Don't leave me alone while I'm on this tedious journey. Don't leave me alone, Lord. Don't leave me alone. So many times the discussion of reproductive justice, reproductive health, gets boiled down to abstract ideas and concepts and policies. And we forget that real people who don't want to be left alone are involved. We forget that poor women and women of color and overworked medical professionals and scared teenagers are involved. We forget, too, that deep faith, deep spirituality are involved. I want to read just a bit of a passage from the sacred text in the Christian tradition, the Bible. I'm going to read from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had, and she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately, her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." Now, I grew up in a little Baptist church on the west side of Detroit, and I heard sermons preached from that text many, many times. I knew the story of the woman, we would say, with the issue of blood. And I thought it was a nice miracle healing story. Yea, your faith has made you well. But it wasn't until 2010 that I connected more deeply with this story. See, because I became a woman who lives with an issue of blood. I was in church one Sunday morning, Jim. We had just sung praise and worship, and I almost fainted. The ambulance came to get me, and the EMT, must have just known. He was sent there for me. Said to me, "What's going on?" And I said, "I'm bleeding." He said, "You're bleeding or you're bleeding?" I said, "I'm bleeding." We got to the hospital, and it turned out that I needed 3 blood transfusions. The doctor said, "We have no idea how you are alive. You don't have 50% of the blood you need in your body circulating to survive." To fix this, a surgeon came to me to say, "Listen, you've got these tumors that are sucking your blood, and we need to take them out. If we take these fibroids out, and somehow you start to bleed, hemorrhage on the operating table, we might have to also take your uterus. Are you okay? Do you give consent for us to do what we need to do to save your life? Or do you want to preserve your uterus at all costs?" I say, "I need like 5 minutes to think about it. Let me just..." What I was confronted with was not just a medical crisis. I was confronted with my very identity. This was an existential crisis for me, because losing my uterus meant more to me than I admitted at the time. What will I be if not someone who has a uterus? What does this mean for my prospects? I was a woman with an issue of blood, and I remembered that Mark 5 text. This woman, desperate, went to every doctor she knew, exhausted all of her financial resources, and decided to try one more thing. She crawled, I can imagine her, through the crowd, knowing that if anybody caught her crawling through the crowd, she was unclean, she was impure. She could be ostracized even further from her community. But she said, "I gotta try this thing." She thought she wouldn't get caught, but Jesus is like, "I felt this thing happen." And she has to confess to him her story. And I believe that in that moment, Jesus was compelled by her faith as expressed in her story